Are we live? Are we live? Come on, Facebook, you can do this.
It says live on Facebook for me, but
yeah, I've just got a screen that you can't see up here where I'm actually posting it into my page and just waiting for it to load. Before I kind of kick off so that people don't miss the intro as well. So it says live now, awesome stuff. So hey everyone, this is Deepesh. This is Tuesday evening here in the UK. So I don't know where you guys are joining us from, but do it says live now, awesome stuff. So hey everyone, this is Echo. Apologies for that. Do let us know where you're from. I'll give you a shout out. Give us a kind of like just to show us that you are online. So I'm here with Rose Guthrie talking about GDPR and technical implementation. So if you've been following my stuff, you'll know something about GDPR and Facebook ads. This is now specifically talking about how we kind of crack GDPR for your website. So this is kind of more of a technical run through and a more of a practical run through for your website as well. So Rose has been actually working on this for some time now and has come up with, I think, a solution which is a pretty good one. As you all know, GDPR is all in the air right now. It's really difficult to know what the right thing is to do, honestly. I've heard from lawyers. I've gone on to kind of lives listening to lawyers and things like that. And honestly, no one properly knows what the right thing is to do. So the thing I would recommend is that you try your best when it comes to GDPR and you try and stay on the right side of the law for the 25th. On the 25th, nothing is going to drastically happen. There are literally tens of millions of websites out there, and it is impossible to police every single one. That said, you don't want to be the one caught up with GDPR as well. So as far as that goes, you need to make sure that you're kind of balancing what GDPR is asking for and what you can kind of do with your kind of website and your internal data and things like that as well. So from a Facebook point of view, have a look in my group. It's in my Facebook course as well, around kind of recommendations with GDPR. So there's no kind of black and white practice to say absolutely do this or don't do this. But yeah, absolutely have a look at what the recommendations are, and you need to make up your kind of ideas on kind of what the right fit is for your proposal, essentially. So I'm just posting this into a few groups as we talk, and then we'll kind of kick off directly. So I don't know how many people are online. Just have a look at the comments coming through. Hey Aziz, in Netherlands, cool. Another one for Geraldine to maybe connect with as well. Hey Malj, yep, Geraldine as well with her bike. Hey Gil, awesome. Got Imran. Hey, how's it going? Jan as well. Where are you guys from? So I've got a few people from Netherlands, which is awesome. It's always great to kind of see where people are actually streaming from. So I get an idea of time zones as much as anything else, but also kind of where we're reaching out as well. So it's pretty cool to kind of know that we're speaking to people all around the world, and such is the amazing world we live in with social media and tech as well. So let me kick off with today. So I'm Deepesh Mandalia. Hopefully you know who I am. I know a bit about Facebook ads. I run a Facebook ads group, Facebook Ads Experts Academy, and also the Facebook Ads Playbook course as well. And what I want to do is bring to you different industry experts to give you insights that I'm interested in, and I think that you'll be interested in as well. So today I'm talking to Rose Guthrie. Rose owns Rosie Does Digital, which helps businesses increase their online presence and scale their business using Facebook, Pinterest, and sales funnels as well. So I'm going to kind of talk through, go through some questions with Rosie. We're going to do a bit of a Q&A, but then I'm going to give as much time to Rosie as possible to go through the kind of technicalities of GDPR as well. So I'm going to pass to you now, Rose, and kind of give you a few minutes just to talk about yourself, your background, your business, maybe a story of how you got started, your experience prior, kind of where you are now, some successes as well. It'd be awesome to kind of hear about your background.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you all. I can't see myself on the screen. Can you see me?
I can see you.
You can, okay. So as Deepesh said, I run Rosie Does Digital, and I work with businesses mostly in the US helping them scale the online presence. And then after we've done that, we can help them scale their sales by filling their funnels with leads from Pinterest and Facebook. So I wasn't always in marketing like most people. I actually started in retail and wealth management, working for HSBC International. So I looked after high net worth clients. And that is when I started to actually explore the online world. I always knew I had technical skills, but it's not something that I felt that I could actually turn into a business. My culture, where I've come from a culture where you expect most people to become economists, doctors, lawyers. So I went down the economics route of doing economics as a degree, getting a job in the bank, then working with all these high net clients and to learn about investments. And I just realized that it was boring. The thing that I loved most about the job was the people. So I got to meet some really amazing people. I got to meet the founder of Zoopla. He was very insightful. And their stories about how they got started and following your dreams is what actually made me come online and look for something to do. So I actually started helping people with the technical elements of things, building websites, fixing the funnels, because that's something I've been doing since I was 12. My dad used to build computers, and somehow he thought I would be into building computers, which was not the case. But I used to love putting the software on there, and when he used to let me play with the internet, I started discovering things. I just loved figuring things out, and that skill just stayed with me forever. Some people like chess. I like figuring software out. So once I was doing that, that's when I got involved in marketing, and I started to get involved in campaigns in HSBC where when they were marketing something, like when they had their new chip and pin reader and things like that, I started getting involved in those campaigns and started to understand marketing from a corporate world. And then when I came online, I started to figure out marketing and how small businesses use it. And I realized I actually got something I can bring here, not only my technical skills, but the skill sets I've learned from HSBC and the skill sets I've learned from other mentors in the industry. So I kind of evolved from doing tech into marketing strategies. And I think one of my greatest successes actually was last April, where I helped a business. She was already earning quite a bit of money. She wasn't really sure about what Facebook ads could do for a business if she was earning so much already. So she gave me a test budget. She said, right, I'm going to give you $1,000. What can you do? And I turned it into 12 in 30 days. And she was like, amazing. Awesome. Brilliant. She loved it. And I had another business actually here in the UK, and they weren't too sure about how to use Facebook ads to launch a course online. They've been doing courses face to face, and they didn't understand how to incorporate that with the online world. So I managed to get them 800 leads in about 8 weeks, so they can nurture those leads and then develop a course in order to bring their business online. So this month, hopefully, or next month actually, because this month ends next week, we're going to be launching the first course. And I think it's going to do really well because I had those leads I brought in, they're being nurtured and they're ready to buy. So yeah, that's a quick summary.
Awesome. That's great. Awesome. So let me, excuse me, let me just ask you a few questions before we kind of go into the technicalities of GDPR, just to kind of get a bit more insights to kind of your background and what you do. So I'd love to ask the icebreaker question first. So if you weren't doing what you're doing right now, you had a blue ocean in front of you, what would you absolutely love to be doing right now?
Do you know, I think for the first time in my life, I can actually say I enjoy what I do so much, I don't know. But the one thing that I'd say that I might want to do over this would be traveling, because I've been in the UK all my life. I've never wanted to travel, but now this business connects me with people around the world. I've started to see things about different cultures, meet different people, understand different beliefs. And I realize there's so much out there that's yet to be discovered. And just knowing I'm in this small little place and there's this big world out there, I just really want to see it all. And I do want to make that happen eventually anyway. So yeah, traveling.
And actually, something quite interesting is we don't actually live that far away from each other, yet we first met in Florida, which is interesting as well.
Yeah, that is crazy. But yeah, I've met some amazing people. I've discovered new things, and I thought I knew it all. I don't know anything.
I think that's probably true of everyone. If anyone says that they've learned everything, then they're lying to themselves. So I think it's a humble thing to admit that you still have lots to learn. But I think honestly, there shouldn't be anyone on the planet that hasn't got something to learn as well.
Absolutely.
Cool. So you run Facebook ads for yourself. I mean, what's been your biggest success that you're kind of most proud of with Facebook ads?
I think for me personally, I have, because I do a mixture of Pinterest and Facebook ads. So my strategy is a lot different to what other people do. So my biggest campaign was actually completely unrelated to this business. It was actually another business I did, where I was able to get 500 leads for myself in about a week for a challenge that I thought wouldn't even do that well. But I managed to build a sales page, put up my ads in 3 days, and in about a week, I got 500 leads, a very, very active leads on my email list. And then I decided I didn't want to do that business anymore.
Cool. And were those emails properly opted in? That's the question.
Yeah, there were, well, not GDPR properly, but
You'll have to ditch those then.
yeah.
So in terms of kind of what you're doing right now, so running ads, building funnels, obviously now helping with GDPR, what's the biggest pitfall that you see in all of that where businesses are just consistently failing?
I think is a technical implementation, not understanding what to do when they've got all these clients in their funnels. So it's quite interesting because once this GDPR came into place, I started to learn quite a bit about some of the businesses that I thought I knew about. So I had some businesses that were collecting leads and they had no plans for those leads afterwards. So I asked them, so why did you collect them in the first place? It didn't make sense. They're like, well, because everyone said I had to grow a list. So I put something out there in order to grow my list. And I said, okay, so now you don't want to get rid of them because of the GDPR, but why? That it's dead weight. You know, the whole point of building a list is you want to build a list of people that are eventually going to purchase something from you. It's not building the list for the sake of building the list. Anyone can do that. So I think when they're listening to all these experts saying, okay, you know, that your most valuable asset is your list, I think more emphasis could be put into what, you know, how to pre-qualify those people before you build your list. So when things like GDPR come into place and they're asking you to reconfirm your list, you don't really have to worry about losing all these people because, you know, everybody is re-engaged. So this is where things like a strong lead generation strategy comes in, a proper technical a proper technical implementations in place. So you are pre-qualifying those people properly, i.e. the checkboxes, making sure the cookies in the right place. So when something like this comes in, most of your list is going to opt in anyway. And I'm one of those lucky people. My list isn't as big as some others. And I've actually deleted the list and started again. But most of my list have re-opted in because I did it the right way. There's so much to think about. And I think when people are thinking about advertising and funnels, they're thinking about the first aspect, but they're not thinking about the complete journey. It's all interlinked. That's what I found anyway. So that's one of the most interesting things for me that I found.
Okay, so in terms of GDPR, so obviously we're here to talk about GDPR. How long have you been studying GDPR, I guess, and kind of where have you gone for your information? Which kind of resources have you found useful?
So for me, it was an ICO, and the reason why is because.
And just to explain the ICO for our non-UK.
Yeah, so it's an Information Commissioner's Office. So if your business is responsible for processing any data, you should be registered with them in the first place, so they understand that you are registered to say that you understand what is required of you, that you're following certain steps to ensure that you're looking after customers' data appropriately. So I did that 2 years ago. So when I joined at the time, they were sending me emails that this law was going to come into place. So it's something that I've been following closely. I haven't implemented everything. I'll hold my hands up and say I haven't. But certain things that people are panicking over now about recording your systems, recording where all your third-party SaaS apps are located. A lot of those things I'd already done. Some of things I had to retighten, like the checkbooks implementation, which I hadn't done, and things like that. But I went straight to the source, and then they had what a lot of people don't realize is that they were panicking about where to find information, but the Information Commissioner Office actually had a step-by-step quiz. They asked you if you had this in place, you had to answer yes or no. And depending on your answers, they actually told you what you had to do. Now, I don't expect everybody in the US to know that, but people here in the UK, we had that. And if you are processing data, you really should be registered with the ICO anyway, and you would have had all those guidelines from the beginning. So, and I think the focus at the moment is what people need to do with the front end funnel, which is great, which is what I do for most of my clients. So they're sorted in that respect. But a big part that a lot of people are missing is what you're meant to be doing on the back end with the data. How are you storing that data? How are you ensuring that the clients know what you are doing with the data? How do you know what your service providers are doing, where the data centers are held? I am just techie in nature, so I know where most of my service providers have their servers. So, you could ask me, hey, where does your project management system, where are the servers? I said Europe, because I opted in, because you could choose where you could have your servers. So a lot of that information was general knowledge for me, but it's not general knowledge for most other people. And I don't expect it to be. When you're signing up for a service, you're not thinking, I wonder where the servers are. So, but yeah, I just think that when things like this come into place, the first thing that people should be doing is going to the source of information. So who decided to pass this regulation? That's where you should be going for information. If you're not going there, then if there's trained experts in that field, that's where you should be going. And if you can't find those, then the lawyers. Because what's happening now is everybody is listening to everybody, and I've seen so much misinformation being thrown around. And I'm thinking, no, that's wrong. And they're asking me, who are you? I'm saying, I'm nobody, but I read I read the actual law. And I can send you the link if you want, which a lot of people are ignoring.
So just on the misinformation, I think that's quite interesting. Can you share the common misinformation points that you've come across and what people should be looking out for?
So some of the things that I have been hearing people are doing is saying that they're just going to block traffic from the EU. Okay. But someone like me, I use VPNs, which could say I'm in the US, but I'm actually in the EU. And the law states if you process information of somebody within the EU, which I am, you have to comply by EU. So just by doing that, you're in trouble. Second thing about the cookie, there's what some people are doing is they've got a cookie bar that says, by continuing on this site, you agree to our terms and conditions. And then if they scroll up, it disappears. And I have to admit, that's something I did before, but I read the laws and I changed that. You can't do that. You have to give people the right to allow, to disable or enable the cookies, but they're not doing that. Then you have some people that say double opt-in is enough, which is not, because you have got some service providers that allow you to change the double opt-in. So for instance, ConvertKit, if somebody signs up for a freebie, you can do a double opt-in and say, click here to receive a download. So that's up to them they've done the double confirmation for them to receive the freebie. And what people are doing then, they're using that as automatic permission to add them to the newsletter, but you haven't given them permission, you've masked their permission. So there's things like that. There's misinformation about the fines that's been going around, and I've been telling people, no, that's wrong. I've been hearing people say, well, I don't, what was another one? Oh, I don't have to there was another one. I can't remember. I saw it in the ClickFunnels group a minute ago, yesterday. I think it was something like, I don't have any customers in the EU, but I said to them, if someone can access your site from the EU, you really should be attempting to comply with those laws. So all those things, but all it takes is, if you just sat down, there's a great free group. You could just sit there, listen to the free videos, and you can see some of these common mistakes that you're making. I know somewhat, like you said, there's some gray areas with the legitimate interest. Fair enough, but there's some completely wrong information that people are just not following. And I know.
So I'll be honest, I get your suggestion about going to the ICO, even going to the EU website. I found it quite daunting to kind of understand the EU stuff. They then point you to like a, 1 million page PDF or something silly that you just don't want to go near. And I don't think the EU themselves have done a great job of being clear, at least from my perspective, of this is exactly what's right and wrong, and this is what you need to do. Then I've seen other websites pop up. So if you do a search for GDPR EU, there's some kind of third-party websites that do come up, and it actually looks like a European Union website. And then right at the bottom in the small print, it says, we have no affiliation with the EU. But actually, those sites seem to have done a better job. Like, I learned a lot of my info from those guys. And you're right, the ICO in the UK do have a good website. But the problem is, this GDPR thing affects so many countries that, I don't think many people know where to go for advice as well. And I think that's been really difficult. And I don't think it's been handled too well as well.
It's funny you say that, because the interactive quiz that they had was really good, because it was in plain English, just one sentence. Do you have this? Yes. Do you have that? No. Then after you filled in, it gave you a PDF in plain English telling you what you need to do. I'll actually try and find the link and get that to you.
That would be good.
Somebody who's not going to read, like you said, I do agree, somebody who's not going to read a PDF of 1,000 pages and are more interactive, they're likely to sit and fill in that questionnaire for maybe 5 minutes and get the steps of what they need to do. I mean, it was colorful, it was engaging, my 8-year-old could do it. So I think that feature alone should have been publicized a lot more, because maybe they would have had more people inquiring, like, oh, let me take this quiz, let me find out. Oh, that's what I need to do? Okay, I'll do it. Whereas I know when you talk about that daunting, long page with the really long navigation bar on the left-hand side. Yeah. So, I mean, I do see your point. And I think for me, I have that unfair advantage. I've come from an industry where I'm used to reading all those reports. That to me is second nature. So I wouldn't have a problem with that. But somebody who doesn't have time for that, they need something that's going to give them answers quickly. So yeah, I do think more interactive tools could have been implemented or advertised a bit better to get more people interested and willing to take action, because now they fully understand.
Cool. So I'm obviously working with you right now, actually, to go through GDPR on my websites and to make sure that my course, my website, my opt-ins, my pages, etc., are GDPR compliant. And what I found quite interesting is your kind of templates on privacy and things like that. Can you talk us through like what you've actually put together to help people out like me to make sure we are actually GDPR compliant across our website?
Yeah, so what I did, I put together a small course which helps people through the technical implementation, because one thing that people were struggling with was they had all these websites, like you said, giving them the information of what they need to do, but then when it came to actually implementing it, they got stuck. Okay, so where do I go for the tools? Do I need to custom code this? Do I need a web developer? Can I do it myself? All those questions were going unanswered. And whilst I found there was some information available for websites, there wasn't much information about funnels and how to implement it properly into the funnels, what steps you need to do, if there's any custom coding you have to do, or if there's anything you can do yourself. So I put together a quick training that teaches you the policy documents that you have to have, which is your privacy policy, your cookie policy, and your terms of use. I explained what needs to be in them, which is more or less just plain terms that need to be in plain English. And I gave links of where to get those legal documents, because again, I'm not qualified to give legal advice. So then I also gave people advice on the type of cookies they should be using on the website, and I gave a couple of recommendations based on things that I'm using as well, because I think we can all agree as busy entrepreneurs, we don't necessarily want to do the things that are going to take the most time. We want to do things that are going to save us time. So for instance, one of the recommendations I gave was a tool called Cookiebot. And if you have a funnel, it's great because it's free for under 100 pages, and it creates your cookie policy for you, because some of the things that they were asking you to do was you had to write down all the cookies that are available for your website. Now, if you're marketers like us, chances are you're using so many pixels. I know for me, I've got the Twitter pixel, I've got the LinkedIn pixel, I've got the Pinterest pixel, I've got the Facebook pixel, and that may change. I've got the Google Analytics pixel. So with Cookiebot, it automatically scans your website for you and it puts together your cookie policy for you. And then it updates it for you every month. So that's one task that's taken off me. I don't have to try and understand it. I don't have to do it. And then anyone that has used my website will have the option to withdraw consent, or they can enable or disable cookies whenever they feel like it. So those are the kind of things that I want to implement. For somebody who doesn't have a tech background, that saves them a lot of worry, because they know it's being done automatically for them. And there's certain rules that you have to follow. Like, for instance, you need to have a system in place where it's easy to delete people's data if they are to be removed off your mailing list. Now, some people are wondering, how do I do that? I just thought if I unsubscribe them from my mailing list, then that's okay. But then they need to realize that sometimes data is stored in some of the SaaS companies that you're using to store your email list and customer data. So you need to make sure that they comply. So I taught, in the course, I taught people how to overcome that. Then you've got people like us that use Action Analytics. There's certain things that you can't do in Action Analytics that you can do as easily in other email service providers. For instance, the checkbox. ClickFunnels has only added the checkbox recently, but before that, there were some of us that were trying to implement it way before the deadline. So no one had the code to do that. So I showed them how to implement the code, what type of wording they should be looking for, where they can go to find that wording. So it was more or less a step-by-step of how to make sure all the funnels are ready, and all the information that I gave them would allow them to use that information to create a template. So every time they create a funnel, it's always GDPR compliant. Because that's the thing, everybody wants to save time, and I think the biggest concern for everybody that's trying to implement GDPR is the amount of time is taken away from the business, and they're thinking, why am I doing all of this manually if I can be doing something else in my business? So I felt that course would help people demystify it in 4 hours, and then have a system that they could automatically repeat going forward, so they don't have to worry about it over and over again.
And Cookiebot's an interesting one. So I'd not heard of it before you mentioned it recently. So, like, how does it work? So I saw it on your website, and it literally had a really nice table, all the cookies, what they do, etc.
Yeah.
Is that you have to create that table, or is it done automatically? How do you make sure it all works?
Done automatically. So you put a bit of JavaScript onto your website. Then what it will do, that as soon as you install that JavaScript, it will scan your website to find out what cookies you have on there. Then it will be able to identify the cookies that are available for marketing, the cookies that are essential, and any other cookie that's required for whatever reason. So when somebody goes to view your cookie policy, they can see a list of every single cookie on that website and what it's required for. So if somebody lands on your website for the first time, they will have a bar that tells them that they use cookies, and then you have the option to select or unselect the cookies that you don't mind us using, and then proceeding. So if somebody says, if I have all these pixels on my website, they will not fire until somebody has approved that policy on the website, which is something that you mentioned on one of your lives, that Facebook recommend delaying the pixel a bit as soon as someone lands on your website. Cookiebot will do that for you. It will disable all the pixels. Then if you decide you don't want any marketing, it will make sure those pixels stay disabled. If you decide that you are happy if you are happy for cookies to be enabled and you check the box, then all the pixels will be live. So it's held off until the viewer decides what they want to do. And then they can decide whether they only want essential pixels and they don't want marketing, or whether they're okay to choose marketing. They can do it all by a checkbox. When they go to the cookie policy, they can then decide to change their mind. They might say, do you know what? I don't want to be pixeled anymore. They can actually just click a button and say disable all cookies.
So, like, is it one check, like, tick per cookie, or is it grouped together? Like when the user sees it,
it's grouped. So you have one checkbox for marketing. You'll have one checkbox for essential. You have another checkbox, I think, don't quote me, but I think it was analytics, but then they can see all the groups. And if they want to see every single pixel, then they'll give them the link to go to your cookie policy, and it will check everything for you. And like I said, the great thing is as a marketer, we're trying different things. We're diversifying our traffic, trying different platforms. And if they're like us, you want to be able to pixel the traffic from whatever platform you use. So the Cookiebot will automatically update that cookie policy for you. So all you're doing, again, is embedding a code in the cookie policy page, and Cookiebot takes care of everything. You don't have to do that. Because if you're using I know the cookie policy is not covered under GDPR law, but what they're worried about is the data you can collect from the cookies, which can be used as personally identifiable data. So even though it's not required by the GDPR law, it's still good practice to go in there. But then if you have to do it manually, it means that every time you add a new pixel, you have to go in there, then you have to write every single thing that each pixel does. And let's face it, no one has time for that. So if you can automate the process, automate it. And it will check that for you every 30 days. So you never have to worry about thinking about updating it if you decide to add or remove pixels from your website.
So thinking as a marketer, actually what we're doing is making market research easier for our competitors, right? Because now you can literally go to any website and look at which tools they're using and all that kind of stuff, which is a bit annoying. I know there's plugins that do that, but literally we're just serving it up on a plate, right?
Yeah, exactly. That I found that annoying. I was like, it's annoying, but if we're meant to be transparent, I guess if I'm not doing anything dodgy, I guess it's okay. But
Absolutely.
it's still frustrating.
So, do you have experience like with particular platforms? So, like, I get a lot of questions about Shopify,
Mhm.
but like Shopify, WordPress, WooCommerce, all those kind of systems. One of the challenges that you have is they have so many plugins, and those plugins can also drop cookies as well. Like, can CookieBot pick those things up as well?
It should be able to. I haven't. It's funny enough because when I looked at Cookiebot, there were cookies that I didn't even know were on my website. I was like, oh, but I knew it was a cookie that was related, was something that I added because it was related to an old domain name I had. I was like, okay, so I've clearly done that, but I didn't know it was there. But because my page is so long, I have so many cookies, I haven't gone through the whole thing. But from what I can see, if there's any cookies that have been dropped, it has been picking it up. But I'd have to do more research into that. So the platforms that I focus on are ClickFunnels, WordPress. I've done a bit of work on Shopify, but I'm a believer in you can't master everything. And WordPress is something that I'd been doing for years, way before I started to master ClickFunnels. So those are the two platforms that I've been on. And I noticed if you, Dinesh, I don't know if you read my privacy policy, there were many, many pixels that I picked up from ClickFunnels that had nothing to do with me. So yeah, in my opinion, yes, it can pick up those things that I dropped.
Yeah, so like one of the limitations of Shopify is that you need an external tool to be able to properly add JavaScript, for example. So with ClickFunnels and WordPress, I know you can easily add like funnel-wide or template-wide JavaScript. Can this also work through like a Google Tag Manager implementation?
It should be able to, but because Google Tag Manager is not something that I use much, I did use to, but then it just used to frustrate me.
Well,
I won't be able to give much advice on Google Tag Manager.
yeah, okay. So are you running this right now on your website? Is it there that people
Yeah,
I could go and
yeah.
what's the website address if someone just wants to have a play around
Yeah.
and
rosiedoesdigital.com.
cool. So you've got those kind of three checkbox options there where you can actually
Yeah, so you've got the free checkboxes on mine, and then my cookie policy should be at the bottom. If it's not, if you just go to rosiedoesdigital.com/cookie policy, and then you can see my cookie policy as well to see how it's automated. And then it also tells you the last date it was scanned, so you know how often my cookie policy has been updated.
Cool. So talking now about the privacy policy, the cookie policy page, disclaimer, all that kind of stuff. So I understand from GDPR, you have to make that like really plain English, like take out all the legalese. How much work have you done to really simplify that? And do you have like a template or something?
So I used a template by Suzanne Dibble. I'm not sure if you're aware of her.
I know her, yeah.
Yeah, she does the GDPR for UK, US, Canada.
She's made a lot of money for herself. She's done really well.
Yeah, she has. She made the process very, very easy. So I was able to go through the policy document myself in about 10 minutes. I was able to understand everything, and all I had to do was input my data. So for me, I am a big believer and you don't have to recreate the wheel. So if you can get a template, I would highly recommend hers, because when I've been doing my research, I've been seeing that a lot of people have been selling these GDPR packs for £500 plus VAT, £300 plus VAT, and she's selling those for £195 plus VAT now at the moment. I think it's definitely worth it. So my test for me was just to ask my son to read a paragraph and ask if he understood. Okay, he didn't understand all of it, but at least was able to pronounce the words. And when I compare it to my old privacy policy, I think my old privacy policy is actually still on my website, but I've got the new privacy policy on my funnel, and you can actually see the difference. I don't even think I read my privacy policy, and that was a privacy policy I actually got from a lawyer as well. And I know what some people are doing is they're copying and pasting policies from other people's websites. I wouldn't recommend doing that, because you don't know where they got it from. And I know people are saying we're small businesses, that they're not going to pick up on us, which is fair enough. But all it takes is one annoyed customer to make a complaint, and then they start investigating, which we don't want. Or it could be a competitor that makes a complaint, then they start investigating you. It's very rare that may happen, but do you really want to be the example?
Yeah, this is fair. So let's say you've got a cookie solution, whether it's CookieBot or something else, you've got your privacy pages and all that kind of stuff done. Is there anything else from the kind of front end website point of view that we need to consider?
Yeah, so I know this one is a bit of a it's a bit of a gray area, but I know there's been a bit of a misunderstanding in terms of the checkbox when somebody is signing up to your lead magnet. So there's a misunderstanding that when you have a lead magnet, you have to have a checkbox to say that they agree to join your newsletter for them to receive the lead magnet. That's wrong. There should be a checkbox that gives them the option to join your newsletter, but not checking that checkbox should not prevent them from downloading the lead magnet. Now, you will find some lawyers that say you need to have two checkboxes, one to give you the right to put them in a newsletter, and one to give you the right to serve personalized ads. Now, I know Suzanne Dibble also, she mentioned this, that she spoke to an expert about this, and they said that you don't have to have the two checkboxes, but you have to have a system in place that states that if they want to unsubscribe, you have a way to unsubscribe them from your custom audiences on Facebook. So if you're a kind of person who relies heavily on Facebook ads and running personalized ads, and you decide you're only going to have one checkbox and use legitimate interests as a reason to add them to your custom audience, I would strongly recommend reviewing your email service provider. So there's people like me, I test different email service providers. So at the moment, I'm testing Drip, ActiveCampaign, and ConvertKit. I'm actually a certified expert for ConvertKit, which is why I use them. But the one thing I love about Drip and ActiveCampaign is when somebody joins your list, you can actually automatically add them to a custom audience on Facebook, which is an automation rule. So you don't have to manually upload CSVs every time someone wants to unsubscribe from your list. So if you have that system in place, if somebody unsubscribes, you can automatically remove them from your custom audience, removing the manual labor of uploading CSVs and deleting CSVs. So that's one thing that I think people need to really be clear on. You should not, shall I say, blackmail them into joining your mailing list to get your lead magnet. And once they've actually got your lead magnet, there's nothing wrong with sending them an email to ask if they want to join your mailing list. So you can just maybe say, click here if you'd like to join our mailing list to receive marketing material, but don't blackmail them into joining your list to receive the lead magnet. So that's one thing I think really, really needs to be cleared up.
Sure. Okay. So once you've got their email address, you've got your cookie working, you've got your page, is there anything else that we need to consider, or is it now into kind of back-end territory?
I think after that, I would say it's a back-end territory, how you're storing that data, how you choose to store that data. So again, that's a bit of a gray area, because some people want to be able to store where people are signed up and the date they sign up, which can be done, and that's something I'll cover in my course. But you really go back into rules and just make sure that however you're processing those customers' data kind of lines up with your privacy policy, because there's no point of telling people that they have to read your privacy policy and read how you process and store the data, but in the back end you're not doing that. So once you've done the front end for now, I would strongly recommend going and looking at your back end processes and ensuring that you've got the correct systems in place, you've got the right storage solutions in place, you're using the right SaaS applications as well, and that they all follow the GDPR rules. And yeah, and just making sure that you always stay up to date with the changes. That's the most I can recommend. So minding myself from the front end, and then the back end territory is where the lawyers get involved.
Of course. Have you done any work on the kind of right to be refused and the right to request your data and anything like that?
Yeah, so that's in my privacy policy. So for me personally, I have a system whereby anybody that joins any of my email lists, they're actually added in an Excel spreadsheet as well. So on the Excel spreadsheet, I have details of everything they have. And if somebody requests to be refused, then I have to make sure that I delete them from I delete them from that mailing list. Then I have a Zapier set up to say, if this action is done, make sure they're deleted everywhere. But it also depends on the kind of business you have, because if you, for instance, are a mortgage company and somebody asks for the data to be deleted, you can't delete your data if they still have a mortgage with you. You have to retain that data. So this is where lawyers come into place, because you need to understand what you can keep and what you cannot keep. And actually something quite interesting that I read as well from another lawyer was, if somebody requests to remove their data, they say they never want you to contact them again, you may be able to keep some data on them, as in maybe the name and email address. That way, if they sign up for something again, you have it on record that this person requested never to be emailed again. But if you delete their data, you have no record of that. You don't know whether you can market them or not. So again, that's another great area you might want to double check. But this is why it's really important to be careful where you get your source of information from. And sometimes it might be a good idea to get a second opinion, or even a third, and then you make up your mind based on that.
And anything else for people to be aware of before we go into kind of the questions that people have?
That is all that I've implemented myself, I'd say. But if anyone has a question that I haven't thought about, I will answer it then.
All right, so I'm going to jump into the questions. So got one from Joe. So Cookiebot delays all the cookies and pixels from dropping.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a yes to that.
Mm-hmm.
And the second part is also, can it be used across all platforms? So I
Yeah.
guess like Shopify and different things.
So I've tested it on ClickFunnels, and I've tested it on WordPress. I haven't tested it on Shopify or like Squarespace, but I'm under the impression as long as you can inject JavaScript, it should be able to work. But again, I can test that. I've got a lot of development platforms, so I can test that, then I can report back if that is the case.
And do you know off the top of your head what the pricing is? Because a lot of the Shopify sites, e-commerce sites in particular, are going to have more than 100 pages, lots of products. What does the pricing tier look like?
Yeah, so for Cookiebot, if you have under 100 pages, it's free. Then if you have 0 to 500 pages, it goes up to £8 per month. And then it goes up thereafter. I think the highest I saw was probably £24. And I mean, Cookiebot is something that I've chosen to use because it makes my life easier as an entrepreneur. And I think it's clear for me, and it's clear for my viewers of my funnels and my website to understand. But it's not to say that that is the only solution out there. There are other solutions, but what I found in some of the other solutions is that they wanted me to enter the details of each cookie and what they do. And as much as I want to comply, I don't have time to do that.
That's fair. We've got a few more questions to go through, but guys, if that's been valuable for you, just give us a few likes for Rosie. Some hearts will be awesome as well. And also, if you can share this as well, share this for other people that might find it beneficial, that would be awesome too. So I'm just going to flick through, see what other questions we have. Let's have a look. There's a long list of things here. So technical GDPR question, do I need to anonymize IPs? In brackets, I'll do this through GTM. What's your thoughts?
Yes, so my take on that is, if I have the Cookiebot thing that will block everything if everyone chooses, I shouldn't have to. I haven't changed my Google Analytics notification. I did receive the notification about anonymizing the IP, but I didn't do that because I knew as long as I have that cookie policy in place, I know that I won't be collecting any data from anybody. And if I do, it's because they've chosen to do that, because I made sure they've taken explicit action to accept those cookies, so we can keep that data. Now, the only website that I know that does collect IP addresses, and I'm still working with them to figure out how to anonymize that if somebody requests, is ClickFunnels. So if you do use Actionetics, you'll find that they have the IP address for every person. So I am working on that. I know there's some things that they haven't implemented as yet, but I know they're working on it. So yeah, that is my take on it based on information that I have today.
So interestingly, ClickFunnels, there's been a lot of backlash because we're 3 days away from the 25th of May, and ClickFunnels haven't officially actually done anything to say this is what you need to do. So as far as I can see, they've added a checkbox element, which to be honest should have been part of the platform anyway. But what's your kind of view on, like, how do you as a ClickFunnels user make sure that your backside is kept clean? Because like ClickFunnels, I know it collects IP address, and when you go and look at customers, it tells you their social profiles and things like that. It's collecting a lot of data.
It is, yeah. So I've made it known in my privacy policy what I'm collecting from them if they are on one of my funnels. And in terms of identifying who's in the EU and that, it's not something that I was able to do within ClickFunnels. So I had to use Zapier in order to clean up some of that. So one thing I'm actually working on for the people that are part of my course is a spreadsheet that helps them identify all the EU members that have come through the funnel. Because even though ClickFunnels tells you under each profile, okay, this person's come from Belgium, this person's come from the Netherlands or whatever, you can't use that data to create a list within ClickFunnels. So you have to take the data out of ClickFunnels using Zapier, then bring it back in to add them to the correct actionetics list. Now, if you're using something like an email service provider, like ConvertKit, for example, they have a facility in place that allows you to identify people within the European Union without you having to do anything. So I know that a lot of people have decided, especially those that I know that in Europe, they're not going to use the platform until they become compliant. And of course, that was one of my concerns. I had to ask them, if one of my clients, they have a request for me to delete all the data they have on you, could you please explain to me what ClickFunnels have in place in order for me to erase that data from the system? Because at the moment, they're only allowed to archive a contact, not delete it. The last I heard was they are working on it. So I'd say if you are really worried about it, then yes, I don't want to say it, but you might want to stop using the platform, because that's not something that I see being ready by the 25th. And if they do, fantastic. But I just don't see it. They're a big company, and it's just not something you can implement in a matter of hours. That's going to take days, weeks to implement.
How will people get their 2 comma awards? I actually posted in the ClickFunnels group. I imagine there's a lot of lawyers going for that 2 comma club award, because the thing is, like, I'm working with a client and they paid a lot of money, like 5 figures, to get a lawyer on board to go through complete compliance for the whole business. And it's just insane. Like, paying a decent 5 figures for that just doesn't sound right.
Exactly, it's a lot of money, and you want to know if you're going to use, if you're going to pay that money, you have the systems in place to support what the lawyer has told you to do. But by the looks of it, I think a lot of people are leaving the platform, which is sad, because like I said, the implementation steps that I give people are only the steps required for the front end of your funnel when you make first contact with subscribers. But you need to think about the continuation of that relationship when somebody wants to leave. What happens to the data? You can't tell them we deleted it, but very well ClickFunnels are still retaining that data. So people do have to be aware that that's something that hasn't been implemented. Because it gives you IP address, like you said, social profiles. You have the picture of the person. If they have, I think they have the favicon thingy if you use Gmail. So it collects a lot of data. And I think what you should be doing is, if you do decide to continue using ClickFunnels, even though they don't have that facility, make it known in your privacy policy all the information that you'll be collecting using the system, so they're not surprised. So if they do decide to read your policy, they can say, okay, I know they'll have this, and that, that's fine.
Cool. So thanks, Jake, for the question on anonymizing IPs. Jake also said thanks for the tip on CookieBot. He hadn't picked a plugin yet, but that one sounds like a good one for him. So on to the next one. So Swapnil says, anyone got a funnel I can look at to see what we need on there? I have, I think, pinned the
so that's
with rosiedoesdigital.com to have a look at that as a
website. But if you want to look at a funnel, if you go to gdprreadyfunnels.com.
Oh, cool.
That is a funnel, and you can see I've put the policy at the bottom. You can see CookieBot in action, and if you click on the next page, you can see my checkbox that I put underneath my submit button. And the funny thing is, I know a lot of people are worried about having a checkbox because they're worried that no one is going to check it. And I have to say that I've only had one person who has not checked it. Everybody else has purchased that course, has checked that box. So, and it's a very good way to pre-qualify, because the people that are checking the box are going to be most likely going to be people that are going to engage with your emails. Nobody wants someone on the email that's not going to engage anyway. And I think that's how we've got to think. I know a lot of big marketers have made people obsessed with numbers, and they've kind of forgotten the whole quality element. So just think about it. If no one's clicked that button, they're most probably not the right person for you anyway.
Yeah, so I mean, I've mentioned this a few times in different conversations. When I've spoken to marketers and business owners, everyone's panicking about GDPR because I think we're stuck in this small bubble and we're majorly panicking. If you speak to consumers, the majority of the people I've spoken to who are not marketers, not business owners, actually probably like 95, 98% don't know what GDPR is, don't know what's happening on the 25th of May, etc. So I don't think the EU have done a great job of communicating it with consumers. What I think is happening is we as website owners are doing the EU's job for them to advertise GDPR, because that's essentially what we're now doing, free advertising across tens of millions of websites. Now, all of a sudden, consumers are going to be like, oh, what's this? What's going on? And it will probably raise more questions that need to be raised. And what I hope is after a few months, it will just die out and hopefully people will get used to it and we can just get on with our lives and start tracking people and serving them ads, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what's going to happen. It's like anything else. I remember when everyone said when Y2K comes, everyone's going to die. It took a few days and everyone got over it. It's just one of those things. I definitely don't think it's as bad. I just think we're all reacting to other people around us and freaking out, thinking, "Oh my God, everything's over. My business is over." I've actually heard 2 people say that they had family members that were looking to give up their businesses because when they heard about GDPR, it was explained in such a way that it was so daunting. They felt that it was better if they just stopped their online business, and that's not the case. They don't have to do it. I think that people need to understand the most important thing that you should be learning from GDPR is transparency. And if you're just clear with your audience, I don't think business will change that much. Yes, I'm sure a lot of people's email lists are dwindling down, but think about it. If you're getting rid of people that have never bought from you, what benefit are you having from keeping that person on your list? So people have to think about it. People have to think about it both ways. You only want to attract people that are likely to, go through your value ladder. That's the whole point of it. No one's building a list for the sake of, for the sake of numbers. I'm assuming we're all serious marketers here. We're here because we want to be able to give value to somebody, but you only want to give value to somebody who's willing to accept it.
And interestingly, as a consumer myself, I've been really, really happy that I've been receiving emails from people telling me they're going to remove me from their list unless I opt in. Yeah. I didn't even know I was on your list, or I'd forgotten I was on your list. I'm really delighted you're not going to email me anymore as well. So I think there's that side of it. And I'm sure lots of people will be in a similar position to that as well.
Yeah, and that's it. And I think, funny enough, just deviating a little bit from GDPR, this is the time we should be listening to people like Rachel Miller about, building a social, social online presence. Because before, when you run ads, I found even with my clients that I'm running ads on, whether it's Pinterest or Facebook, when you build that relationship with your clients, it's going to be so much easier for them to buy into anything that you promote anyway. If you're one of those people that doesn't put any effort into building that relationship first, then yes, your business may struggle. But just this is the time now. If you don't have a social strategy, that's what you should be thinking about now. I think there's other marketers that I've seen that they put so much effort into bringing value for free into their ideal audience. So I wouldn't see something like this affecting them, because if they're giving value and you're asking them to join your list to get even more value, who's going to say no to that? If you're asking for an email, but you've given them nothing, of course people are not going to check that box.
Absolutely, absolutely true. Alex is asking, do you have scroll to opt-in on your site, Rosie?
I did, but I turned it off because Cookie did send out an email with strong confirmation that you shouldn't be doing that. You should really be giving them they should be given explicit consent. And if it is there when you're on my website, then I do need to double check that. But no, I should have turned that off.
Cool. Question from Gil. So thanks for all this. Rose, just been on your site and seen your cookie bot pop up. Notice that it has the checkboxes all pre-checked. Just confirming this is compliant as it's obviously a million times better from a marketer's point of view than users having to manually tick the marketing box to opt in. Something I'm willing to bet most probably wouldn't bother doing before they click OK to clear the box. So can you have it pre-ticked? Is that okay?
That again is a great area. For me, the more and more research I've done, and I know Suzanne Dibble again, she's the lawyer that I've been following a lot.
Yeah.
she doesn't even have a cookie policy. She gets people to opt into a list once they've signed up. So once they've signed up, she will ask you, do you want to receive more emails? I have taken the decision to, I'm going to now take that off. So you have to check marketing.
Okay.
For me, the most important thing for me is the emails. So as long as somebody joins on my list and they tick to receive marketing, I've decided to take the implicit action route, that if they join my list, they allow me to, I'm going to be serving them personalized ads, because I know I'm only going to serve them things I think they're interested in. I will be unchecking the marketing box, but I've also made it so you have to press accept. So you can't, that box will not disappear until you press accept. So they can have a read it, and if they're happy, they can check it. If not, I am looking to test it to see the implication of my statistics in my Facebook analytics. I might change my mind, but at the moment, from the research that I have seen, I think it's in my best interest that I do uncheck the marketing box, because that's not them giving me explicit interest. Even though if they press accept, that is explicit interest. They've said, I've read it, I'm happy, I'm okay. So I think in that field, you need to make your own opinion based on the information that you have received and decide the action that you are going to take. But that is my reason as to why I'm going to do that.
So actually, just you kind of noticed something about analytics, and I had a question in my private mastermind earlier around Facebook ads and people landing on your site but not opting in. And actually, what's going to happen is your stats are going to be all over the place. So one thing I would recommend is keeping an eye on outbound clicks in your ads report and then landing page views. Now, you should be doing that anyway, because you can identify gaps in like page load time and stuff like that. But once GDPR lands, you'll be able to look at how big that gap is getting as well, on how many people did actually click your ad and how many are actually landing on your page. Because if the pixel's not firing, you're not going to see them as well. So I'd really recommend that you do that and just keep an eye on that from the 25th or whenever you kind of start implementing these tools as well.
Yep, exactly. So yeah,
Cool.
so I just think you should all take the information you have learned from me from the technical aspect, and take the information that you have gotten from lawyers and make up your own mind. But I have found that depending on the lawyer that you speak to, you will hear them say different things. Suzanne hasn't got the cookie notification bar. I don't know if she's going to add it on. She even went to a GDPR conference with other lawyers, and one of the lawyers told her you need to have 2 checkboxes, one for personalized ads, one for newsletters. And you will notice that a lot of the email service providers have implemented it that way. So you have 2 checkboxes, not 1. Then you have some lawyers will say, no, you don't have to do this. So I think this is why I said it's really, really important to do your research, but make sure you're doing your research from the right places. I have seen people who are not lawyers run webinars, and I have been very skeptical about what they have to say, because I don't know where they're sourcing their information from. And that's why even in my training, I make it clear to everybody, I give you all the options available based on what you have decided to do, but I cannot tell you which option is the right one. I can only give you the technical steps to implement them.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've done something similar in my training course where I've created a GDPR module, and this is based on speaking to the Facebook's counsel, so their legal representation, their legal team, listening into people like Suzanne and other GDPR experts, and I put that in quotes because I don't think anyone really knows GDPR properly, and also my own research. But at the end of the day, like, no one properly knows what the right thing to do is across everything. We can only try our best, and I think to be on the right side of the law here, you need to show that you're trying your best as well. So if the evil eye of the law lands on your website, this big kind of bright burning eye from Mordor and kind of looking over your website, just make sure that you've got all the basics in place and you're doing the right things. I think that's the best place to be. Yeah. I think there are lots of people doing a massive overkill as well, which is a bit unfortunate. I think it was Nike or another website where literally they had a big modal in the middle of the website where you couldn't actually do anything until you opted into everything, which isn't the right implementation, because you should still be able to browse. Also, on top of that, if you have cookies that are absolutely required to make the site work, i.e. you can't check out without it, then you should allow that as kind of just as part of the kind of core offering of your website, because it's not there I think what I look at is the weighting between what's the benefit for you as the marketer and business owner, and what's the benefit for the consumer. And I think right now what the GDPR law is trying to do is just focus heavily where the consumer's losing out. So collecting emails without them knowing, tracking them without them knowing, is things like that which I'd focus a lot more attention on as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we all know our business, and we all know how we're going to be using that data. And I'm assuming everybody in this group is not doing anything shady. So I know that all of us here will try our best. You know, I can only try the best with what I know. I make an effort of going the extra mile for everybody, all my clients who I know that find this overwhelming, to do the research that they most probably don't have the time, or they don't know where to go for. You know, I have that advantage as most of my clients in America, and I'm here, so I have a lot of people I can ask. And I think for the people in the UK, you should use look for the resources available, like the Federation of Small Businesses. As soon as GDPR was, as soon as they made it a big thing, they made templates for all their members. I think the membership for the Federation of Small Businesses, FSB, is 125 a year. So with that membership, you've got all the templates, you've got access to lawyers for free anytime you need it. If you're not a member of the FSB, then you know you've got Suzanne Dibble's templates. But then I think some of us are just ignoring all the free resources that are available to us. But just do your best. You know, we all know none of us want, I'm assuming none of us want to use our client data in a shady way. And like you just said, as long as we can prove we've done our best. For me, I have my email list. I have a list that says GDPR explicit consent for me. So I can say these are the people that check the checkbox, and they're put in their own separate email list. I have a spreadsheet as well for every single member that goes through anything in my business. So I've got my first point of contact and everything they signed up for and everything. That is my process. But do your research and find out what's required from you. I mean, I'm in this group, so I'm happy for anyone to PM me if they've got any technical questions they need help with. That's my thing, and I love to help. But you better just ask for the help rather than go quiet and just do the complete wrong thing.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, like ping Rosie in the group if you've got any technical GDPR, and obviously ping me if you've got Facebook ads GDPR questions as well. That's what we're here for in this group, to kind of help you out. I want to be respectful of your time because I know we're over an hour. Like, there are a few more questions. Do you have time, or do you need to?
Time. My kids are sleeping. I have time.
Awesome. We could go on all night. You know, this whole GDPR thing. It's great fun.
It's the mother's bliss. So.
So, question from Alicia: is there a GDPR compliant free privacy data policy template that people can swipe?
I have looked, but I haven't found one. There was a website that I saw that had a privacy policy, and they were going to update it to a GDPR compliant policy to see if you can reword that yourself. Obviously, you can't copy and paste it, but just have a look at mine and see the kind of things and see the kind of wording that I've used, and you can even use that to implement your own. I know it's not the same as using a template, but it's a starting point for you.
Cool. I've just lost my list of questions. Just 1 second, refreshing the screen. Come on. One thing I would say, like for people that are listening in, like for me, I've got a ton of value from this conversation. Social currency is likes and shares. So if you found this valuable, please do hit the like and also share as well. It has been valuable for me. Hopefully you can share that knowledge with people in your circle as well and help them learn as well. Got a question from Alex again. So just following up on the answer to my question, it looks like the pixel is firing regardless of whether I opt in or not on your website. Could this be a bug, or is it simply because it's delayed until the 25th? And in brackets, it's put GDPR day, party day for GDPR.
I can have a look at that. That shouldn't be firing. So I can have a look, and if it is firing, I can reach out to the team and I can update everybody based on what they tell me.
Cool. All right. Good spot, Alex.
Thank you.
So a question from Imran. Do we need to uncheck email box for abandoned carts, even if I don't have European customers?
Because that's an e-commerce question, I would say any box that requires people, that's telling people they can join your newsletter, I would, unless you're asking them. I know there's some e-commerce stores that have a checkbox that says, I agree to your terms of use. That's fine. But if it's anything related to the newsletter, whether your blog, e-commerce store, whatever, that shouldn't be checked.
Cool. Okay. So I think that's all the questions done. How do people kind of get into contact with you if they've got, if they need some help, if they want to consult with you, or they just want to kind of ask you questions? Where does Rosie reside on the interwebs?
I'd say the best place, because I'm really social, is to get hold of me through my my Facebook page, Rosie Does Digital. Just send me a message, or you can send me an email at hello@rosiedoesdigital.com. Or if you want to follow me on social media, I'm on all social media platforms as r.does.digital.
Awesome. Anything else to tell us or advise us on before we end the call?
No, just get as much as you can done technically before the 25th. But I have taken note of some of those questions in terms of Cookiebot and Shopify, my pixel firing on Cookiebot. So I will be following up on those with everybody in the group.
Awesome.
And if you have any follow-up questions, I am more than happy to post my research in the group for everybody to benefit from.
Appreciate that. Thanks, Rose. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Really appreciate you taking the time. It's 11 o'clock, gone 11 o'clock in the evening here in the UK. So massive thank you. Guys, hit the kind of likes and show some love for Rose as well. So thanks, Rose. If you guys have additional questions, fire them into group and we'll try and help you out as well. So thanks for joining us. And I guess until next time, we'll see you soon.
Thanks everyone for having me.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.